Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Extra Point here on ESPN Denver 1600. I'm your host, Roland Rainey, and as always, I'm joined with Justice Gordon from New York and Robert Parker from New Jersey. Jeremy has the day off. All right, guys, there's a lot going on, and I tell you, the biggest, hottest topic is the end of the season and the game between the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, let's just hit it because it's so important. Did Doug Peterson make the right move or not? A lot of folks out there are saying that he threw the game away. Of course, you got Coach Judge, who's extremely upset with the Giants because he knows what that truly meant moving forward for their potential playoff opportunity. When you look at how the Eagles were playing, how Hurts was playing, the fact that he got pulled out and the backup quarterback, well, I guess you can say the backup to the backup quarterback gets put in the game when potentially, you had the opportunity to really generate some energy on the field and drive the ball down the field. More importantly, why did you pass up on that field goal? You passed up on a field goal that could have tied the game 17-17 to push you into the fourth quarter, but you decide to go for it. Now, let's be honest here. We all know Doug Peterson has a history of going for it on fourth down, especially in the red zone. He is definitely a coach that does not shy away from that. But in this particular case, what a way to end a season. I just trying to put that into perspective. I think we all heard the post-game press conference. Let's call it what it was. It was a crock. You can believe what you want from that press conference, but at the end of the day, a decision was made, and you had the sideline, the players infuriated. I don't know, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, Doug Peterson made the best decision for his football team. I know it's an unpopular decision. A lot of few teams in the NFC East were, hoping for an Eagles win to push them into the playoffs. But look, at the end of the day, Doug Peterson, he coaches the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Philadelphia Eagles, because they lost, they just moved up 3 draft spots, and they are in prime position to take Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith. They're in very prime position to, set Hurts or Wentz, whoever it is, up with a superstar wide receiver next year. And yeah, they're going to get backlash now, but talk to them come the end of April, beginning of May. They're going to have a superstar receiver because of this. And, yeah, you can bash Doug Peterson for what he did, but at the end of the day, he helped the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going to help them land a superstar. And, yeah, it could cost him his job. There's been a lot of talk about could this cost, Doug Peterson his job. A lot of players are upset. A lot of players don't agree with what he did, and that very well could have, rode him out of town. But I think in a few months, Doug Peterson there or not, Philadelphia Eagles fans will be happy that they landed a superstar receiver.
Yeah, I was just like to harp on the interview, just like you mentioned, Roland, the post-game interview with Doug Peterson. He talked about he actually tried to go out and win the game. I mean, if that was the case, why would you pull out your starting quarterback who already scored 2 touchdowns prior to that fourth quarter? So therefore, It really didn't seem like you went out to try to win the game. Now, did the guys quit? I don't think the guys quit. I don't even think it was Doug Peterson. I think this was out of his hands. I think it came down for upper management where they said, hey, let's just do a tank job real quick so we can move up a couple draft picks. We don't care who we keep out of the playoffs. We don't care who we put in the playoffs. We're just worried about the Philadelphia Eagles and moving forward. And I think that's what they did, and I think that's what Doug Peterson did. And if that was Doug Peterson's decision, I think he's going to be fired. But if that was upper management's decision, I think Doug Peterson is going to be back again to coach the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make here. And for everyone listening in, hey, look, if your job going in, of course, you want to win the game, but is that your number one priority? If you wanted to test out talent that you had on your sideline, I get it. The third string quarterback had been there for 4 years, never, played in a game. You want to get him in the game to give him some reps. Look, I get that. I've been there as a coach where you do have a losing season and you want to get some folks who've never played in a game. You want to get them that playing time. I understand that completely. If you want to move yourself or jockey yourself for a draft pick, I don't see any part of management ever going out in front of the public stating that they tanked a game so to better align their potential draft stock. No management will ever do that. But don't sit there and say that you went out there to try to win the game, because when you have the opportunity to tie the game and push maybe or put Hurts in a predicament where he can really galvanize some energy on the field in the fourth quarter, you didn't do that. You took the energy away. You put a backup quarterback in. And what happened the very first play? Look, sometimes you can't make this stuff up, but it looks like the guy was told, just go throw an interception. The way he threw that ball, are you kidding me? So he threw an interception. I get it, right? He's in the game. Maybe he has some jitters. He threw a pick. Hey, all quarterbacks have been there. Second series, he comes in and he now fumbles the ball. Now, a lot of folks out there, oh, it was a low snap. You know what? He's a professional quarterback. He should have been able to at least handle the ball and at least fall on it to preserve possession. He couldn't even do that. So this is where, if you are the head coach, this is the predicament that you put your team in. And now all your starters who are dedicated to the utmost are sitting on a sideline watching this go down. How do you expect this to pan out? Now, let's add a caveat on top of that. If that was not the case, and now if Wentz is not an issue, why wasn't Wentz dressed out? He's not hurt. You're a $100 million type quarterback who is behind Hurts at this point, did not even dress out. So if you had plans at any point of assessing talent and pulling Hurts out of the game, why wasn't Wentz there to at least go into the game if your goal was to actually win the game? So to both of your points, I think there was a little bit of both. I think there was a little bit of, hey, we are the Philadelphia Eagles. We are only concerned about us. We will do what we need to do. And I think to Robert's point, maybe there's a little bit of that management from up top that, hey, let's put the kid in, see what he can do, knowing for a fact that this kid was not going to drive down the field and throw 2-3 touchdowns to where they were going to win the game. So when I look at this, it does stink in some aspects, but you do have to respect the Philadelphia Eagles at the same time. It's their organization, it's their management decision. I get Judge's frustration. He wanted to get into the playoffs. I think his team actually believed that with Hurts under center, they probably could have driven back down the field to get into the end zone. But at the end of the day, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. It's about them. It's not about helping the Giants get into the playoffs. And speaking about getting people somewhere, we have to assess this Wentz-Peterson situation. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little confused. You just signed a multi-million-dollar contract a few years ago. You claim that you are the guy. The moment you get pulled for poor performance, you are now asking for a trade. And now there's talk of, oh, well, hey, the relationship between him and the head coach has deteriorated to a point where they can't, move forward as an organization. I don't know, guys. I don't believe it. What's your take?
Yeah, as far as Wentz, getting that contract and then, throwing a temper tantrum, the first minute he gets benched. I think a part of that, goes to, where we are nowadays. When whenever a superstar player or a big money player, gets upset, they throw a tantrum on social media and they ask for a trade. I mean, that's where we're at right now in this league. And I think a second part of that is, Carson Wentz, he's always had, these leadership issues. We've heard it from the locker room over the years, kind of whispers here and there, and we kind of shrugged it off. But you look at, when he got injured, his MVP, leading year, and Nick Foles was able to lead them to the playoffs and Super Bowl. People kind of thought back, like, why, what was going on with Carson Wentz where he couldn't do this when he got back healthy? When he got back healthy, he struggled to lead this team. And, a backup in Nick Foles is able to, lead them on a playoff run to the playoffs. So I think it kind of goes back, to he's had some character issues. He's not a great leader. And, I think the other part of it is, we've seen it from multiple superstars. When they get upset, they just throw temper tantrums. And, it's kind of where we are in the league today.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Justin. But I tell you what, I think the Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson, and this Philadelphia Eagles situation was doomed as soon as they draft Jalen Hurts. As soon as they draft Jalen Hurts, the rumors and the narrative kind of started coming around as Carson Wentz your guy. But at the end of the day, they kind of paid him big money, so they kind of have to stick with him. But they didn't think Carson Wentz was going to go out and play like he did this year. But at the end of the day, it wasn't always Carson Wentz. It was the weapons on the outside. They kind of had those young receivers. The offensive line was banged up. The defense was playing terrible. So, it wasn't really Carson Wentz. It was pretty much this whole Philadelphia Eagles team. So me personally, I think you pay the guy, you kind of have to stick with him, and you just kind of have to ride it out, and you keep Jalen Hurts there to kind of, keep him in the wings to be the franchise quarterback after Carson Wentz. Me personally, that's what I would do if I was in the GM's, footsteps.
Well, this is where I'm very curious to see what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, because at some point, of course, the agent is having conversations with the general manager, and they're figuring that part out. But this has nothing to do with money. The guy's getting a lot of money. This has to deal with a relationship. And the relationship not only between Doug Peterson and Wentz, but Wentz and that locker room. Because if you don't believe for a second that members in that locker room are talking about all of a sudden Wentz's attitude about the team, Wentz's attitude about his head coach. If you don't believe that that is a conversation, you are sadly mistaken. Once again, when you're talking about dynamics of an organization, it only takes one. It takes one bad apple. And I'm not saying that Wentz is that bad apple. I do believe he took a bad stance. Look, you weren't performing well. I tell in my coaching career, I've told players all the time, the one thing that never lies is the videotape. Tape don't lie. And if you took the time to sit in that study room and saw your performance, even Wentz would have to come to the conclusion, geez, man, maybe I need to take a break from this. Look what happened with Trubisky. Once he got benched, you didn't see him and his agent going out talking about him and Nagy having a bad relationship. But when he returned, you saw a different Trubisky. You saw someone who was a little bit more in tune, a little bit more connected with his players, a little bit more adamant about decision-making on the football field. In this particular case, it was only 3 games, Wentz. So if you want to be that franchise player, then be the doggone franchise player and continue to work and excel your performance. But if you're not going to be that guy, don't complain about the relationship with the head coach. That's kind of my point on this when it comes to Wentz. Once again, airing out dirty laundry, going to the media, having his agent speak out, that's the wrong take. The take is him, after the season is done, him and Peterson to sit down and figure out what his role is going to be moving into the future. But instead of that, no, let's go out to the media and let's talk about how I'm not happy with my relationship right now with the head coach.
Yeah, I think it's more of where we're at today. I keep coming back to this because it's so true. The difference with Trubisky and Wentz is a bigger name. He got his payday. He's the bigger name. And when you're the bigger name and when you're the superstar, if you throw a tantrum, you're likely going to get traded. You're likely going to get what you want. We saw with Antonio Brown. We saw with Jamal Adams. This is the trend nowadays. If superstar players are unhappy, they don't want to be somewhere, they just throw a temper tantrum and they get what they want. They get traded out of the situation. And I think this Doug Peterson Carson Wentz relationship is broken. Robert hit it on the head after they drafted, Jalen Hurts. I think, it was the end of that. We kind of saw with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, but Aaron Rodgers, he's a veteran. He knows how to handle these situations, and I think it goes back to what you said, Roland. Carson Wentz, his immaturity is showing. He's just not ready, to take on that leadership role, and I think that's what held him back all these years.
I definitely, and we'll see where this happens, where this takes us in the next couple of weeks. I don't necessarily see a kumbaya moment coming from this. If anything, to your point, I think Wentz is going to get traded, and who knows? Maybe because of where they are at in the draft, maybe you put some good studs around Hurts, and who knows? There are glimmers where Hurts did some good things, keeping his eyes down the field, able to move around in the pocket, using that speed that he is known for. Who knows what will happen? But yeah, I think it's over. I think Wentz is probably going to get traded, and who knows how it's going to pan out. Now, something that I want us to talk about because in a previous episode, in 2 episodes, we talked about who potentially will be the MVP. The season is over with, sadly enough, but yet, hey, look, we're getting ready to get into the wild card game. We got playoffs, looking forward to it. But the season is over with, and now there's conversation about who is the MVP. I want to bring up something to our listeners. So, listeners out there, go back to a couple of episodes. Go back to episode 3 and 4, and you will hear us talk about MVPs. Now, Justice out of New York definitely stated, hey, Mahomes at that time frame was looking like an MVP type player. And both Robert and I were adamant that the way cook 'em up Russell for the Seattle Seahawks, the way he was playing, he was definitely on the MVP track. Well, he had a couple of hiccup games that totally threw him off that conversation piece. But of course, our other colleague, Jeremy Coleman from Indiana, he's a huge Aaron Rodgers MVP pusher. So here we are. And I will say that Aaron Rodgers, of course, is leading the conversation in the MVP race, but Mahomes is right there. So let me go to Robert out of New Jersey. So, Robert, for both you and I, there's no conversation here. So when we do a compare and contrast on what we thought then and what we're looking at now, I don't know. Who are you thinking is going to walk away with this MVP?
Yeah, just like you mentioned earlier, Roland, I really thought Russell Wilson was gonna, be the unanimous MVP, especially the way that he was playing early in the season. But a couple bad games kind of got him in that funk, and he couldn't get out of it. But I tell you what, I definitely agree with our colleague Jeremy, and that Aaron Rodgers is definitely the MVP. Just like Justice mentioned earlier in regards to our conversation about, the Eagles draft and Jalen Hurts compared to, the Packers draft and Jordan Love, it really seemed like Aaron Rodgers used that as fuel for the fire. And you can go ahead and see that he did because he threw for, 50 touchdowns, 50 plus touchdowns, I think, if I can recall that number. He's just having a tremendous season. Him and Devontae Adams seems like they can't be guarded by no one. Aaron Jones in the backfield is a godsend for that offense. and the defense is coming around. So not only is Aaron Rodgers is the MVP, but I think that Green Bay Packers team can go do a lot of damage moving forward in the playoffs.
All right, Justice, refute that. Refute it. You got Mahomes. Is Mahomes better than Rodgers?
Me and Jeremy have been butting heads, over the last few weeks about the Pittsburgh Steelers throughout this year. But I agree with him in this scenario. I picked Mahomes earlier in the year. After that Raiders game, he completely shredded him. He looked like the MVP, the unanimous MVP. But my God, Aaron Rodgers. I look back when we first started all this after the Packers draft. We tore the Packers apart for not giving him help. And look what he's done with just Devontae Adams. He's led him to a 13-3 record, 43 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 4,200 yards. He's got the 1 seed in the NFC. What Aaron Rodgers has done with just one receiver is amazing. He never ceases to unamaze me. He's a phenomenal talent. I'm really pulling for him to win another Super Bowl. What he has been able to do with this team is truly amazing. I think he's the unanimous MVP. Just look at the 43 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That is unreal. You don't see that very often. He has done a great job over his career protecting the ball. It's just been truly amazing to watch him play, and I think this year he deserves the MVP and the Super Bowl trophy.
So, wow. I'm with you 100% on everything that you have just stated. He is an exceptional talent. What he does on the field, especially with fourth quarter comebacks. I mean, the guy just is that extraordinary talent. The 43 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions on the season. He has clearly proven why he should be the front runner in the MVP race. I'm one who, much like Robert, I thought Russell Wilson had it going at the beginning of the season, especially the relationship that had developed between him and Metcalf. I thought that, Metcalf is just this thunderous threat downfield. And the way Russell throws that high arcing ball, I just felt like that was really going to be something that was going to be extraordinary this season. And then, of course, he also had additional weapons with Lockett. I just thought something special was going to come of it. But I think what hindered that was the fact that he had a defense that struggled, so he took on way too much. And in doing so, you have those games where you throw up 3-4 interceptions. And sadly enough, Russell had 2 games back-to-back where he threw up a tremendous amount of interceptions. Now, who do I think should be, not who is leading, but who should be the MVP? Hands down, unless the NFL wants to change the name of this MVP trophy to the quarterback MVP, I believe Derrick Henry, hands down, should be the MVP. Here's the rationale. 2,000 yards on the season. Name me the last time a running back did that, especially the pounding that they take. And looking at the way offenses are run this year, or I should say in the last several years, the running back oftentimes is not that featured back. 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns. He is in some very unique company. Here's the company he's in. Only 8 other players have had 2,000 rushing yards in a single season. Jim Brown, O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson, Riggs, Barry Sanders, Peterson. But franchise-wise, there is only one other running back who's been able to pull off what Derrick Henry has done, and that's Earl Campbell. On top of that, in the NFL, there is only one other running back who has had a 2,000-yard season and more than, or I should say, 15 touchdowns. You guys know who that is? Terrell Davis of the Broncos. So here we are with a running back who has single-handedly carried an entire team. They're in the playoffs. Don't know how far they're going to go, but much like last year, the performance he put on has truly demonstrated that he is a truly unique talent. And to have a 2,000-yard season with 17 touchdowns, franchise-wise, he's second behind Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell has 19 touchdowns in a single year. And then looking at the company he is in right now, he is in a league of his own when you talk about NFL history. Look, not arguing Aaron Rodgers is always going to be in that Hall of Fame conversation. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's made a lot of historical throws. He's been to the Super Bowl. But I think what Derrick Henry has done this season is something that we have not seen the likes of since Terrell Davis. I think that is something unique. That's my take. I think that is just something unique to see that we have not seen in quite a long time.
Well, yeah, Derrick Henry has certainly had a career year. He's had a phenomenal year. I understand why you have him in that conversation, but when I think of the most valuable player, I think of a quarterback. And you take Aaron Rodgers, off that team. I mean, you're looking at the Green Bay Packers picking in the top 3. What he's been able to do is truly special. Henry, what he's been able to do is truly special. But I think if you take Henry off that team, they could be a 500 team. The value of the running back, it just doesn't carry the weight as a quarterback. So I think,
and that's my point, Justice, from earlier. Let's just change the name of the doggone trophy to the most valuable QB award and leave it as that. But to your point, and I totally agree, what Rodgers has done has been absolutely amazing. But just on raw talent, looking at the company he's in, for a running back to run for 2,000 yards in a season, that is almost unheard of these days. And the fact that he has been able to pull it off on top of the 15 touchdowns, I just think it's something extraordinary. So one of the things I also want to hit on before we wrap up our session today is let's talk about next week, Monday, the college football championship. You got Alabama, you got Ohio, Robert. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Ohio State in this. I know they're the underdogs, but I think they have enough firepower to get the job done. I mean, we saw how Justin Fields played against Clemson, and he played through pain, and he showed you that he's worthy of that number 2 pick. So I think, you hear the talks out there, Sean Wade saying, who he wants to cover, and everyone knows that's Devontae Smith. So I think you got to put up or shut up. So no one expects Ohio State to be in this position. So I think they're going to rally the troops. They're going to go out there and try to get a win. And we saw, Nick Saban's daughter came out and tweeted some stuff saying that, Ohio State is trying to duck them and trying to get Justin Fields some extra days. It's no COVID breakout. So I think that's just going to add fuel to the fire. And I think Ohio State's going to come out and play really, really well. Trey Sermon's one of the better running backs in the nation, especially, in the late month of 2020. So I tell you what, Ohio State has some firepower. I think they come out and get the job done.
Yeah, I've been a Justin Fields guy all year, but I'm rolling Tide on this one. I'm looking at Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle might play, Mac Jones, Najee Harris. That offense is going to put up points. Sean Wade has gotten toasted all year. He has had a terrible year. I don't trust him against those wide receivers. I see Bama winning 62-35.
Woo! Hold on. Maybe I had like a technical difficulty, but did I hear 62 being put up here?
62.
Wow.
It's a high-scoring game, Roland.
Okay, well, I cannot wait to see this. But hey, guess what, Justice? I'm right with you. I'm going. I'm rolling tide on this one also. I just have not seen enough of Justin Fields over a course of time to see if he can repeat the same performance he had last week. If he does, it's going to be one hell of a game. And to be very honest with you, I think this game is going to come down to the defense. That Clemson defense, he shredded them. He feels shredded that defense. Do I think he's going to do I think he's going to be able to shred Alabama's defense? No. Do I think he's going to have some great plays? Probably so. I'm not expecting a high scoring game because of the defense. I'm actually expecting a pretty low scoring game. But I think this one is going to be quite interesting. But I'm definitely going to roll tide because I don't believe Fields will be able to replicate the same performance that he had. And at that juncture, you're going to have to rely on Sermon a whole lot to make sure that this game swings in Ohio State's way. I don't really see that panning out. So I'm also rolling tide on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Extra Point here on ESPN 1600. There's a lot of great football happening with Wild Card Weekend, and then we have the College Football Championship. There's a lot of great football. So hopefully everyone tunes into it all, and we will see you here next week with one special interview. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, this is going to be an episode you don't want to miss. I'm Roland Rainey. Have a great week.